I like the pre-scheduled stuff because it gets people together. I think the notifications actually go out with pre-scheduled,
Mm-hmm.
which is good, and we get people waiting. Don't want to make you wait too long. But
Right.
that's also the thing, Bloom. It like gets me going in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because we have it's official, right? It's
Yeah.
pre-scheduled.
Yeah, that's right. You
So
can't leave them
grab the
waiting.
coffee and go. And as we'll do the big reveal here, and the chat room, I'm gonna get at least one. What's up, Vanilla Face? Every time I wear these glasses, people are like, "You look like Ollie G." I was like, "Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take that.
Yeah,
Whatever."
you definitely should. How do you do the thing? Yeah.
Right, little dead finger pop, boom,
Yeah.
slap. All right, 5 fingers, say to the face. All right, let's do this thing in 3, 2, 1. Tommy Brady's good. Washington's not. Buccaneers against the Washington football team. The first game we're going to talk about. Part 2 of the Week 10 preview here on the Audible. And with Tampa Bay, Bloom, we look at it and we go, okay, you're not going to have Antonio Brown back yet. He's out of the boot. This is a good thing,
Mhm.
right? So, we'll watch the progress there. No Gronk. So, okay, other targets, including Gio. I was helping set a fantasy lineup last night at Old Chicago. Nick Ferguson and I, and a guy was going through the running backs, right? He's low on running backs, lost Eric Henry, whatever. And I saw Gio, and I was like, huh. It was kind of a what the heck flex type of situation, Bloom. But I was like, you know what? You could pick up these other guys, and they'd be all right, whatever. But Gio, he's always getting those sneaky touchdowns. And I know I'm spending a lot of time talking about him, Bloom, but like, okay, we know there's a couple of big assets that aren't going to be there for the Buccaneers. But the other assets are going to do some stuff. And against Washington, they can kind of do whatever they want. So
Exactly.
what will Tampa do on Sunday?
Yeah, you would think that the pass is going to be successful even without Rob Gronkowski, without Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin missing practice with a foot injury, coming out of the bye. And season the times that we've done this show, when somebody's on the injury report coming out of the bye, that's usually not a great sign.
Yeah.
So even if Godwin plays, he may not be fully able to fulfill what he usually does. So it points to Tyler Johnson, maybe to Scotty Miller, who's coming back from IR or aiming to come back from IR this week. May even see a little Jalen Darden. Also brings OJ Howard into play, Cameron Brate into play, because this is a test. You take away these important pieces, but is Washington's pass defense so bad that it doesn't matter? Remember, Washington was the last team when Kansas City looked like Kansas City, or at least what we expected, was against Washington. So passing games can be their idealized form against Washington, maybe even without those pieces, although it could still be a Leonard Fournette game, and you would think Fournette is going to get his scoring opportunities in this one as Tampa is well rested. And Cease, again, I think about this chaotic season. We had Dwayne McFarland said that on the couch this week that Tom Brady's like a computer because he's seen everything.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about the come and go where in fashion it takes 20 years for things to come back, right?
Right.
Well, that's why cover 2 is back in fashion, right?
Tampa 2, everybody.
Tampa 2. I guess Tampa 2 is more like 90s defense, late 90s. But the point is, Brady knows how to beat Tampa 2. Brady knows how to beat everything.
It's almost
He's
like
seen it
people
all.
forgot, Bloom. Like, this is a larger conversation I won't get into because I don't want to bore people, but I'd love to get into it with you, like, off the air, because, like, this is a larger conversation. How people forget stuff. The cover 2 beaters are there. Everyone knows what a cover 2
honey
beater
hole
is. But Tom Brady's done it.
He's done it. Yeah,
he
he's
had
actually
to do
seen
it 20 years ago.
Right, exactly. He's seen it all. So whatever twists, whatever you want to throw at him, he's seen it. And Bruce Arians, also one of the coaches, an elder statesman of the NFL. So in a chaotic season with all kinds of crazy twists and turns, it makes sense that Tampa, their seas would be calm. They're just row your boat. And meanwhile, Washington's like going over to the falls and into the surf or whatever, the spray and crashing into pieces.
Yeah, crashing into those pieces. So what pieces are there to pick up for the Washington football team? Again, assets we know, games that we appreciate, whether it's Antonio Gibson, a little banged up, whatever, and J.D. McKissick in the what the heck flex levels, sure. Terry McLaurin there. Is Logan Thomas back yet? I don't think I've written about him yet. So, All right, you're still looking at that situation and going, I wish he would be back. And I wish Taylor Heineke was better. But last year, remember that game?
Exactly.
The game that you and I were like, hey, because people were like, Taylor Heineke sucks. I'm like, he doesn't suck. But look at that game last year against Tampa. I mean, You get a little memory, a little flashback
Right.
for Heineke this week.
Right, went down swinging. I will mention, Cease, that this series is 12-12. So this will someone, unless they tie, someone was going to move ahead in the series. And you're right. There's a playoff matchup last year. Heineke did not back down from the Tampa defense, and he's going to go down swinging. He's not being replaced by Kyle Allen out of the bye. Although wouldn't it be full circle that really the Tampa playoff game put him on the radar, and then if he goes down in flames in this one, maybe that'll be it, and that'll be the Taylor Heineke era. We'll see, but certainly he's a good sleeper quarterback this week because Tampa stops the run, so you're going to have to throw on them. That's why it's not a good Antonio Gibson week. He's still limited coming out of the bye, so hopes that maybe coming out of the bye, that shin stress fracture might not be an issue. It's still an issue, maybe less of an issue, but it doesn't matter because it's Tampa. It's a J.D. McKissick week. Of course, it's a Terry McLaurin week. He's always banged up, so the rest will help him, and it could be a Ricky Seals-Jones week again with Logan Thomas probably not quite ready. And yeah, with Washington, I think they're just trying not to get blown off the field in this one.
Yeah, they're just trying to show that they can hang a little bit, at least for a half. Eddie, Carolina and Arizona, that one's got some interesting talking points. Arizona's more interesting, obviously, Bloom, but Carolina becomes interesting because no Sam Darnold. So PJ Walker, step up. Not that you were looking to your Panthers assets with confidence, whether you're Robbie Anderson. You'll let you get points for yelling at your quarterback. Robbie Anderson hasn't been good for you this year. Christian McCaffrey, just stay healthy, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to start him. I must start your studs guy. You know that.
Yeah,
I'm always just stick with it. Hey, the guy's out there, you're going to start him. But is Christian getting to like where you think of Julio Jones? Not as low as Julio, right? We talked about that yesterday. Like, I guess Julio's a what the heck flex. So Christian's not there. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, instead of like when Nick Chubb comes back from injury or coup for whatever, Bloom, I'm like, start Nick Chubb because it's Nick Chubb. With Christian, it's like, it's different. It's different. Yeah. I hope it's not different this week. I hope it's back to being the old Christian, but we'll see.
Yeah, this offense is going to be a limiting factor for him, but he's been through lots of ups and downs in this offense. And Cease, I think you're asking the right question, but maybe not about the right player. And why I say that is running back is so brutal. If you have McCaffrey, you're playing McCaffrey. I mean, look, even if he only musters 80 total yards and 4 or 5 catches, that's still a 12 or 13 point day in PPR leagues. You'll take that. That's an 8 point day in non-PPR leagues, whatever, 12, 10.5. You'll take that. You'll take that at running back. Where it becomes tougher is with DJ Moore, because DJ Moore, he's a stud, right? I mean, in a objective way, he's a stud. It's like the Allen Robinson situation where he's in such a bad scenario, and we have not seen signs of life lately. Now you introduce PJ Walker. It could happen, but he's a what the heck flex. That's where we are with DJ Moore. That's where we are with this offense. Although there's talk that they've reached out to Cam Newton. So talk about things coming full circle pretty quickly. David Tepper, all of a sudden, well, maybe Cam Newton's not such a bad option at quarterback, is he? Well, I mean, you're just trying to save face, right? You're just trying to be competitive. I think that the Panthers don't want to do that. By the way, just because I do find this stuff interesting, the Panthers are 13-5 in this series. The Panthers have only been around for like 25, and Panthers are only like a little bit older than your oldest son, right? You know, I mean, your oldest kid, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, they're 13-5 in this, including the last 5. And the NFC title game, speaking of Cam Newton, that they won was over Arizona. But Arizona also beat Carolina on the way to the Super Bowl. So these teams have a rich history of playoff games. It has been the Panthers dominating this series overall. But no matter who starts at quarterback seats, you got to be picking the Cardinals in this one.
Yeah, you got to be picking the Cardinals, and you spoiled it for everyone. No matter who's starting, we don't know if Kyler Murray's starting. Okay, full disclosure, Thursday morning. Blah, 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 blah. But it's Colt McCoy. Like, you're going to stream Colt McCoy? You're going to stream Colt McCoy if he plays. Okay. Yeah. And what does that do for the other assets there, including your Zach Ertz's, et cetera, and DeAndre Hopkins and all those sorts of things? We all know the the Cardinals offense is chock full of playmakers. Now maybe with a new one, with Eno Benjamin, if they use him, because if you use James Conner too much, you'll use him up. So does Eno Benjamin crawl into what the heck flex levels? For me, he does, and he should, granted with rational coaching. But so far this year, Cliff Kingsbury's been pretty rational.
Yeah, I would say that this is a Carolina team. They do have a strong pass defense. Now you have Stephon Gilmore. We don't know if we're going to see DeAndre Hopkins, but if he's going to see a lot of Gilmore anyway. I'm not necessarily saying to bench DeAndre Hopkins. That feels like sacrilege, right? If he's active, he may find a way. AJ Green is back from the COOF list. But this also is a game McCoy's going to throw the ball 25 times. So I don't know if I totally agree on streaming, although he's going to be a high floor play. Certainly, he's going to be a high efficiency play, and he looked good last week. Although, remember, that 47-yard screen pass touchdown to James Conner was a big play for him, so Conner gets the assist there. And like you said, Cease, with Conner, maybe limit him to 20 touches. You don't want to ride him into the ground. You don't know how long Edmonds is going to be out. That does make Benjamin a what the heck flex. Rondale Moore missed practice today, so I'm not sure what's going on there. So if we get Green back, but Hopkins doesn't play and Moore doesn't play, then maybe Christian Kirk. But I think Connor's the guy you're going to focus on here. As far as Murray or McCoy, who's going to play, Murray said he feels way better than last week. Does still sound like the team is preparing us for him to not practice, which doesn't mean he won't play. Remember, this is
Cliff Kingsbury said that last week.
Right.
He doesn't need to practice.
He doesn't need to practice to play. It is a late afternoon start, so that's making things a little more difficult. The other thing Kyler said in his quote was, they have a plan. I mean, I should pull up the exact quote, Cease, because what he said was, I feel way better than last week. But he didn't say the but. Hold on. I want to pull up the actual quote, because the idea here being that he's preparing us. He said, I think I made crazy strides as far as in a positive direction since it happened. I think we've got a great plan. I feel way better than I did when I talked to you last time, so I think that's a plus, and I'm excited. But when he says, I think we've got a great plan, I mean, we're guessing, but that's what they pay us to do, right? That's what we're here to do, guess. Right. When he says, I think we've got a great plan, that tells me they're not going to play him until they have to, and they don't need him to beat Carolina, right? You don't want to aggravate that ankle injury. We know the second injury is worse than the first injury usually. So I'm going to say 70-30 McCoy starts or 80-20 McCoy starts. I'm not totally close to it.
Right. They got a bye in week 12 too. So I mean,
you make it to the bye, you give him
Could he start against Seattle next week? You know what I mean?
Right.
If Cole builds momentum in this game and they handle Carolina easily, which they could, that might give you confidence to say, hey, take the Seattle game off too. Have the bye, and then boom, Kyler Murray fresh. Fresh in December.
Yeah. I like that. So, and again, if there's a team that we can say it's smelling like roses right now, it is the Cardinals. This is the team. We don't want to anoint anybody a Super Bowl favorite. See, so I've seen this thing floating around this week. Well, real league insiders, the real season starts at Thanksgiving. That's when we start to separate the contenders from the pretenders. Really? You really think teams are out there like, yeah, we can just coast because it's only early November, but in late November, that's what? No, I don't think that's true. I think these teams are laying it all out on a line now. It certainly looks like it from the intensity of the action, and Arizona is feeling really good. And yeah, if you can get arrested, Kyler Murray for that stretch run, get that number 1 seed, looking good. Maybe making up for the Suns letting down everybody in Arizona.
Yeah, Suns in 4 or
Suns in none.
No, Suns in not. Okay. Whoever said that, Bloom, is not so very smart. Either way, let's move on. And this one is interesting. We had some people asking us yesterday if we're going to talk about it. So let's talk about it. It's Minnesota against the Chargers. Minnesota with the Dalvin Cook thing. It's complicated. I don't know if we've ever heard about a situation like this before when it comes to an NFL player. The one thing that you always need in life is patience. I think people usually have an agenda, Bloom, if I get my soapbox out, so that when something happens, they get out their soapbox and they have their agenda, and then they don't wait for the facts or the information. Obviously, because here's what happens when something like this happens. You get everyone that comes out of their way, that goes out of their way to virtue signal and be like, I'm against domestic violence. We all should be against domestic violence. Okay? Don't be an idiot. Domestic violence is awful. It's terrible. It's horrible. So all of us should be. Now we have to sit around and wait in this situation because Cook may have been the subject of basically like a kidnapping or something. Again, the details are very weird and held at gunpoint and all these sorts of things. Like there's a lot of things going on with this Cook thing. So I don't need to go out and say, hey, everybody, I'm against domestic violence. Hey, moron, we all should be against domestic violence. I'm just going to sit here and go, if he did something that is punishable by the law in the league, then punish him. If she did something like hold him at gunpoint, hostage, or whatever happened, then she needs to be punished by the law, what have you. But we have to figure out what's going on here. With the Cook thing yesterday, he said he didn't talk to the league, Bloom. So he's probably going to be okay to play. The league could step in the situation. But right now, I mean, we need, as frustrated as it is, and this really is way more important than fantasy football, obviously. But like, we just need to be patient because we don't know yet what's going to happen or what actually happened. Maybe we'll never know, but we have to kind of wait to see what a league decision would be. Obviously, this whole thing is overshadowing Minnesota versus the Chargers, which is what we're here to talk about.
Right.
But people wanted to hear us talk about the Dalvin Cook situation, so let's do it.
Yeah, look, okay. Boy, there's a lot to go through here, and it's in some ways more interesting than the game, okay?
Yes.
Charles McDonald. Man, do we love Chuck.
Oh, wait. If you're going to mention Charles McDonald.
Did he get the Keanu kiss?
Oh, he gets the Keanu kiss. That dude is so cool.
He's so good. He's so cool.
He is so good. I sat next to him at a combine years ago, like 2011. Yeah. Me and John Clayton and Jim Wyatt. And Jim is so nice, and John is as well. And Charles is just sitting there dropping F-bomb, all this inside information. I've been to dinner with him, like just, of course, with our man Frank Schwab. You can't say enough good things about Charles McDonald.
You got Andy Reid's mac and cheese recipe. Yeah. I mean, do we need anything more than that? But he said, he's echoing something you said. You don't have to have a take on everything. It's okay if you don't have a take on everything. Okay. Wow, there's a lot to untangle here. Look, it appears, and friend of the show, Adam Schefter, is involved here. It appears that Cook's agent had, via Schefter, the Cook side of the story come out first, which is important. I mean, we're playing the PR game, Cease, here. We're playing this PR game, the court of public opinion. Then, because they knew that the complaint was going to go, the filing was going to go public about what happened. And you do have a situation here where it could be a domestic violence situation as part of a pattern. If you look at the filing, the potential pattern of domestic violence here, but also you have the claim of the Cook camp that actually he was acting in self-defense and she was the aggressor. It's a civil case right now. There are no criminal charges. And I believe at this point, and sees over the years of this show, one of the things that has remained constant is who can really predict what the NFL is going to do with any kind of punishment situation. I believe in this new era where it used to be Roger Goodell, judge, jury, executioner. Right. Now it's like, let the legal system do its course. Let the legal system do its job, run its course. And I think unless there's a felony charge here, and that's what we always heard in the Watson situation, that the NFL is not going to put him on the exempt list. The NFL is not going to step in here. So I think from a fantasy football standpoint, which is kind of gross, but this is what we're here to do, expect to have Cook available for the rest of this year. And I think that his camp, part of their strategy to get out ahead of this and get his version out first and put out there as if it is just what happened and not his version, is to keep this in some sort of delay until next year, until 2022, the calendar year.
Right.
So I think that's where we are at. I would not advise people to go out and trade Dalvin Cook because he's not going to be available. I wouldn't advise people to go out and trade for Alexander Mattison. Now, things can change very quickly. So that's where we stand right now. Now, for this game, this is like the all-underachiever bowl, right? You want to talk about pain? See, so if we had like a bank account of pain of being fans of teams, these are both in the top 5.
Yeah.
And certainly
Minnesota goes back a long ways because of the 4 lost Super Bowls.
Right. Yeah. So, and both of these teams, is it a must-win game? I mean, Minnesota, even though they can compete with the best teams in the league, I think this is a must-win game. And the Chargers, I mean, everybody has 5 wins in the division, right? But who knows which game you let slip away, you look back on as the reason you missed the playoffs. So this is a pretty big game. Now, going back to Dalvin Cook, you run on the Chargers, and you run, and you run, and you run some more, and you run some more. So from a DFS standpoint, Cook looks like an amazing play this week. You can see some Jefferson and some Thielen, but I don't think this is a good game to go with Conklin or Osborne. I don't think this is a good game to go with Cousins. I think if they have their way, this could be a 30-carry game for Cook, or 25 for Cook and 12 for Madison. You just want to force the Chargers to show they can stop this running game, which they probably cannot. So you take more off of Cousins' plate. And then the ball's back in the Chargers court back in Justin Herbert's court, and he showed that, yeah, he could hit a nice shot down. Here's a tennis for you. See, he's down the right on the baseline, point, add in, set, match.
Yeah, set match. There you go. Chargers side of things is, well, we know the assets, and to me, it comes down to Mike Williams, because you're not here to be like, start Keenan Allen, guys.
Right.
Or Austin Eckler or whatever. We already know. I want to see a couple things. I want to see, how does Mike Williams respond? Because really, as Justin Herbert goes and the Chargers go, it comes down to how do Mike Williams do, which is interesting and fascinating. So is Mike Williams going to have a good game? That means they'll win. How's that reflect on Justin Herbert? That's important there. Watching Donald Parham to see if he'll continue to do more. So a couple of interesting factors for the Chargers outside of the normal top dogs we know, like Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler.
And you should be able to pass on the Vikings, right? You should be able to pass on these corners. Danielle Hunter's out for the year, the best defensive player they have. So you would think that Herbert's going to have a good afternoon, Allen. And I think this is still a good time to go with Mike Williams. The opportunities are there. The high leverage, high fantasy value opportunities are there, and Herbert's going to keep giving them those chances. Now, you have the tight end situation, which was split between 3 players last week, but I think they had like 11 for 129 and 2 touchdowns. The Vikings are yet to give up a touchdown to a tight end this year. And with this split situation, so maybe this is not a week to stick your neck out for Donald Parham. It does feel like he's one of those situations, like a tipping point. Like at some point this year, it may just tip, and Parham may be getting 60, 70% of the snaps and most of the targets. Maybe that'll happen in this game. This isn't necessarily a game to try to guess when that is going to happen. The other thing I'm going to watch here is who's the number 2? It just keeps changing every week. Who's the player that we would want to pick up if Austin Eckler were to go down? Perish the thought. 1 week it looks like it's going to be Kelly. 1 week it looks like it's going to be Justin Jackson. Then he gets hurt. 1 week it looks like it's going to be Larry Roundtree. So another data point, which may only be good for a day or two, like a milk carton expiration date. But this is an interesting game, Cease, because both of these teams on any given Sunday, there it is again, they can be one of the 3 best teams in the league, or they can, like the Vikings, almost lose to one of the 3 worst teams in the league. So, this is just where we are, and we'll see what the variance machine gives us with these 2.
We'll see what the variance machine does. Now, there is request for a Broncos rant.
It's actually a good moment in the Broncos arc right now.
It's all right. It's all right. As Saline points out, I did my little Senior Bowl rant because I quite honestly can't stand that anybody can go. I'm a credential snob. I don't really shy away from that, but I had to rant yesterday with Chad Brown, our dear friend, and Steelers legend. Wish the Steelers would have kept him. But anyway, I was like, yeah, man, you don't go to the Senior Bowl to for the nightlife, which can be fun, or to chase around chubby interns or whatever. Like, you go, because also you guys that go just to take selfies and don't even take a notebook, and then want to talk during practice. I'm like, dude, shut up. Get away from me. Like Matt Waldman and I, we've told this story before, Sig, but Matt and I have had to start hiding.
Yeah, the bunker.
Senior Bowl. Yeah, because it's like, and especially Matt, right? Like, oh my God, the work that Matt Waldman does. Like, no. Let him work his craft. Talk to us at Saucy Q. It'll be fine. So yes, Saline. And I bring that up because I saw Jalen Hurts at the Senior Bowl. There you go. And there's the transition to the Broncos and the Eagles. And okay, Eagles side first as they're traveling to face the Denver Broncos in the Mile High City right here. So Philadelphia is weird because when Jalen Hurts plays poorly, they win. And when he plays well and puts up fantasy points, they lose. Now, they're going to put up a fight. You can put up a fight against Denver. Denver spirited with that big curb stomping to the Cowboys last week. But with the Eagles, it's like, okay, there's some assets you got to watch out for. Is Jordan Howard really a thing? I've been fighting it. Even last week, I put Howard on a lot of people's benches. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not perfect, everybody. But with Jordan Howard, I can't trust it. I know Boston Scott is a better all-around back. Why don't they use him more? You got Kenneth Gainwell running around there doing some things. Hurts can rush in some touchdowns as well, Bloom. So he can run against the Broncos. Broncos struggle against tight ends. Dallas Goedert, please.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith's deep speed will come into play. That banged-up secondary will come into play. Hurts as a rusher is going to be problematic for guys who are my favorites. Guys who are my friends, like Jonathan Cooper, love that guy, love his story, love his heart. But the Eagles, they're so Jekyll and Hyde what I've been saying on the air locally is like, I can't really project this game accurately. Not that last week I said the Cowboys would kick the Broncos' ass, and the opposite of that happened. So what's the opposite of Jekyll and Hyde? Like consistency. The Eagles are nowhere near consistent, although maybe this week they will be. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they've discovered a new identity, running the football and running downhill. Cease. Jordan Howard's like that tool that in the tool shed that only does one thing, and there's so many upgrades. There's rechargeable.
You're not using a sledgehammer to work on the drywall. You know what I mean? You got a sledgehammer for one reason.
And not every NFL as it's played in the year 2021. You don't have a lot of need for sledgehammers, although maybe that's changing. Fascinating thing here is both of these teams coming into this matchup feeling like we have a new identity. We have a new way to win football games. We just run the ball. Now, on the Eagles side, the question is how much of that was facing Detroit and the Chargers? And when they face now, Denver maybe isn't a good run defense, but they're not the Chargers and they're not Detroit. So if Denver has success against that poor Eagles pass defense and run defense, including potentially Darius Slay being out this week, then that might make them have to tear up the running game plan. But Denver doesn't necessarily run up the score and force teams out of their comfort zone. So it could be another Jordan Howard game. Like you said, Dallas Goedert, you like the matchup for him. Don't go away from him, even though it was a Devontae Smith week last week. And then Devontae Smith, talked about that with Dwayne McFarland on the couch, that fewer opportunities can still equal a better fantasy outlook if they're better opportunities for Devontae Smith. And like you said, Cease, that speed can come into play. So you would expect both teams to have success. And Cease, I got to bring it up. You can use this on the air. 8-5 Eagles is the series here, but here's what's fascinating. In the last 5 games these two teams have played, the lowest total points was 57. That was the lowest.
57!
3 of the games went into the 70s in total points. So for whatever reason, when these two teams have gotten together over the last 15 years or so, it has been a high-scoring game. And I could see that in this one, Cease. I could see a game that does not feature very much defense and can feature Teddy Bridgewater saying, we're going to the playoffs. We're done. You said we were done. We're not done. This team has some legs.
Right. Is breaking news, Bloom? You always do the breaking news noise. It's so fun. Cam Newton just signed with Carolina?
Just signed, yeah. I mean, expectation is he's going to sign with Carolina. Yeah, so I don't know if that changes the outlook. Look, real quick analysis here. He was a big part of McCaffrey's first 100-catch season. I think he got him to into the 80s. So he knows how to check down to McCaffrey. Yeah. He cannot be worse for DJ Moore than PJ Walker, or Sam Darnold. So it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade probably because this team was so discouraged with Sam Darnold. You could just see it. It's like the Blake Bortles situation. When a team goes into a game feeling like we can't win with that guy as our quarterback. Well, some of the guys in that locker room at least have the experience of winning with Cam Newton as the quarterback. And Cam's going to brighten it up with his font and his hair and his fashion and his smile. So, yeah, it's not a bad thing for the Panthers that Cam Newton's walking through that door.
Walking through that door once again. Here we go. Okay, so we did Philadelphia. We haven't done Denver yet.
Yeah.
So let's do the Denver side every day. And Matthew earlier said that his wife started saying that. That's awesome. Every day. I chuckle when I hear it too when somebody else says it, but they're not even saying it every day. They just say every day.
This is the t-shirt. You need Vic Fangio's face, like the Teletubbies, like the baby that was on the Teletubbies sun, like Vic Fangio's face on the sun coming up over the horizon. It just says every day.
Vic Fangio's face in the sun would scare me. So
fair.
Yeah, fair. Teddy Bridgewater, does he scare the Philadelphia defense? Well, I'll say this, and Darius Slay with a hamstring, we got to see what's going on there. Slay has done a good job on top receivers, including guys like Tyreek Hill had a catch against him. Mike Evans only had 2 catches against him. So Darius Slay quietly putting together a Pro Bowl season if he's healthy. Now he's got a hamstring, didn't practice yesterday. Again, that was Wednesday. We're recording Thursday morning. So we'll see there. But Slay will take away one guy. Well, last week, Cortland Sutton was the guy that the Cowboys were like, we're not going to let Cortland Sutton beat us. And then Tim Patrick beat him.
Right.
And Jerry Jeudy was in there to chip in. And Noah Fant's back off the COOF list. Okay, he's still going to catch and fall down. I listen. I like Noah as a person, but man, as a player, he's not a player that you would sign to a 5th-year option as a first-round pick, and I think that says a lot. Doesn't mean he's terrible. He's like the Sylvester Williams of tight ends, and that's probably not what you want to be. Either way, this comes back to Pat Shurmur, though. This is where I would get my Broncos ran in. Like, do you trust Shurmur? Listen, I love Javonte Williams. I love him. Number 1 back in this class. Love him. Stud. Absolute stud. Make him the lead ball carrier. Should have traded away Melvin Gordon. Whatever you want to say. It just comes down to Pat Shurmur. I've started Myles Gaskin for people this week over Javonte Williams, and I don't like Myles Gaskin. And I love Javonte Williams. Like, love him. And it's like, do you trust Pat Shurmur? It worked last week, but here's his God blessed excuse. Oh, well, we had the lead. We could run the ball more because we had the lead. Dude, if you're down by 10, you can still run the ball. 14 with this team, kind of turtle on the back type thing. Yeah. But he abandons the ground game so quickly. If it doesn't work, if there's one play that's stuffed, one play with a negative gain or right to the line of scrimmage, Shurmur will be like, oh, can't run the ball. So can you really trust Javonte, who I love and can be productive and can be one of the best running backs in the league? Okay. When Javonte Williams has his breakout, no one needs to say, because it's glory to the players go to the game. No one needs to say, you were so right. We're all right about Javonte. We're all right. But Pat Shurmur is so wrong. So very, very wrong. So if you can trust Shurmur, then Javonte's a running back too. If you don't trust Shurmur like me, then Javonte is a flex play, which means you might be starting other options who are not as talented over him. This is the complications of when you deal with Pat Shurmur.
Yeah. And I think that Melvin Gordon's still a better play than Williams because he's going to get more likely to get those touchdown opportunities, which should be there in this game. And so you're right that we're back to the couch. We're back to psychoanalyzing Pat Shurmur. And maybe, again, the defense is the variable here because of the defense or the Eagles' quality of offense. Because if they can keep the lead, it will be a Williams-Gordon game. But remember, this is an Eagles defense that has given up 80% or more completion rate in 5 games already this year, tying the record set by the 2015 Bucks. And 80% completion rate for Teddy, I mean, with his game, look for that to become 6. And if Shurmur wants to pass and the pass is successful, that can incline him to say, well, okay, we're going to keep passing. We're just going to keep passing.
This was what was working.
This is what's working. So either way you expect success, it's just where's the success going to fall? And because you have the opportunity, especially with Gordon, for rushing touchdowns that cap off pass-heavy drives, you still like Gordon in this one. And like you said, see, slay or no slay, Sutton and Patrick are both what the heck flex with upside. And then you have Judy, and what's interesting there, Cease, is more tunnel screens, more balls to Judy, like manufactured touches, right? So that's a good sign for his PPR value if that's his first game back. And again, it's Philadelphia. So you really like Judy this week. You like Fant. I don't know the exact number, but the Eagles have given up a lot of touchdowns to tight ends. 2 last week. Again, the Chargers tight ends combined for like 11, 129, and 2 last week. So you like Fant in this one with Albert O banged up. But this is tough to gauge because of the proclivities of this offensive coordinator still potentially rowing upstream against the tidal wave of the run success last week.
The tidal wave that was the run success. Run success with Chris Carson? Okay. Chris Carson returning for Seattle. Do you start him? And Russell Wilson, we're back, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Seattle going up against Green Bay. Green Bay's got its own things that we'll get to in just a little bit. But, and you said guess earlier, Bloom.
Yeah.
Every day is pretty big in our household. But guess, whenever I hear guess, do you know what I think? I think a water boy. Oh, when what's her name's chewing out Lynn Swan. That ain't no guess. That's what's going to be. Okay, so with Chris Carson, that ain't no guess. What's it going to be?
Yeah.
I'll leave that one to you, Blue.
Yeah, it's a guess. First of all, Cease, I do want to say this is an interesting series. This is a really interesting series. It's 14-9 Green Bay, but it's 3-1 Green Bay in the playoffs. And do you remember the one that Seattle won against Green Bay in the playoffs? It was the NFC Championship game that Mike McCarthy just blew. It was Brandon Bostic on the onside kick. That's the only time Seattle's actually beaten Green Bay in the playoffs. It gets more interesting. The last 8 matchups are 4-4. They split at 4-4. Okay, those are the 8 matchups that Rodgers and Wilson have had against each other. 4-4, and Rodgers has won every one in Green Bay, and Wilson has won every one in Seattle. This one's in Green Bay. So is this a Rodgers game? Is this a Green Bay game? Maybe. I'm also calling this one the Beckham Bowl. These are 2 teams obviously in the running for Odell Beckham. There's some talk now this morning, Diana Rossini saying he's going to wait until after the games, or he might wait until after the games. Maybe he waits to see who wins this game. I don't know. Someone said waits to see if Trevor Siemian can throw the ball 40 yards in the air. Russell Wilson hasn't been a great fantasy quarterback for a while. He started out hot this year. I'm not sure in the first week back it's going to be great. Green Bay's defense doesn't scare us, though. Chris Carson is a risky play in the first week back. I think whatever he does in practice, he's not really going to know how that neck responds, how that problem is until he takes a hit, until it's real football. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if he's activated from IR but doesn't play, or just plays a smaller role. We'll see. We may have some clarity on that, but probably you're going to try to avoid this backfield. Although Carson obviously has upside if he's active. It's a Metcalf-Lockett game. Metcalf-Lockett Beckham, probably not by the time this game happens. And we'll see. Seattle, this team is hanging on for dear life right now. They have to get a win here. Maybe if they had won some of those close games when Geno was in. And then you have Green Bay, which is just trying to flush the memory of Jordan Love starting a game for them.
Yeah, flush it away. Wash it away. Is Aaron Rodgers going to play? Do we know that right now?
No, he says there's a small chance he won't play, but that implies that there's a large chance he will.
There's a large chance that he will play. Okay, Aaron Rodgers back. We're back. And Devontae Adams is certainly happy. Oh, boy, Adams, if body language could kill. Usually people say looks could kill, but he's wearing a helmet.
I like that.
But if body language could kill, there was that one pass, there was multiple passes, where like Devontae's breaking open to the right, and if he just is led, he probably turns into 6. And it's not even like behind him, like, oh, it was behind him and it was a gain of 17, he tackled or whatever. It was like so far behind him, he just turned around and watched it. It was like LeBron complaining to J.R. Smith, right? What are you doing? What are you doing? There's your basketball reference, Bloom. So let's talk about Rodgers' return, what that means for potentially people that picked up A.J. Dillon thinking, oh, well, I'll throw him in as a flex play, whatever. Well, now Rodgers is back. What does that do? And it goes back to being the normal Packers offense at home against a bad Seattle team. Let's go, Pack.
Right. And the normal Packers offense is like 25 pass attempts for Rodgers and a lot of the running game. And Seattle is not really situated to stop them from doing that. So I think this is an Aaron Jones game, maybe an A.J. Dillon game as a what the heck flex. I think you're going to still see these guys be the cornerstone of the offense. And then you'll see Rodgers take those shots to Adams. And that's about it. I mean, maybe Randall Cobb, we still haven't really seen without Robert Tonyan if he can get going in the middle of the field. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is back. So whether it's Valdes-Scantling or Lazard, now they're splitting those targets. If Russell Wilson is red hot in this one, we could have a interesting shootout, but I don't expect that to happen in his first game back. And we'll see if Green Bay can make it 5 in a row at home against Russell Wilson. 5 in a row every day. Sorry. You can do things too much,
every
right?
year. You gotta sprinkle it in,
But then you're like South Park and you come all the way back around and it's funny again the 78th time.
You bastards! Maybe that's what fantasy GMs will be saying. That's what they have been saying this year about the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing, Kansas City? Why are you broken? It's the stick figure guy that's poking the thing on the ground. Like, do something. Move. Kansas City against the Raiders, a big matchup in the AFC West. You mentioned it, Bloom, that everybody's tied within the division. Throw out the records.
Right.
Throw out the records. That does not matter. The Chiefs are not who we thought they were. Opposite Denny Green, like the anti-Denny Green. So give me a skinny coach who was boring, and that's the anti-Denny Green. They're not who we thought they were, and that's interesting this week. Now, your normal assets you're going to normally play.
Yeah.
Darrell Williams should be like a running back too. I can't really trust him. Like, I like Darrell Williams. I like him more than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not because Edwards-Helaire is a better running back, but I like Williams and the sense of power that he would bring to this finesse team. And then Andy Reid doesn't use him. Stop me if you've heard this before.
Right.
So with Darrell Williams, it's like he should be a running back too. I should be able to start him with confidence, but I personally can't, Bloom.
Yeah, well, we're waiting to see also. I want to say that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was designated to return from IR, but we don't know exactly where we are. He was at practice yesterday, so that could also complicate things. We may not want to play anybody. But see, say throughout the records, do we throw out that the Chiefs have won 13 of the last 16 in the series? And that's through some different Chiefs teams. That's not just Mahomes, you know? That's through some different Chiefs teams and some different Raiders teams. They've had the Raiders number, although we had that great win the Raiders had, I think, in Kansas City. This is a conservative Chiefs offense, and you would think the Raiders are going to play it straight up and do what the Chiefs haven't solved yet and force them to be conservative, disciplined. If there's no Edwards-Helaire, that points to it's the Raiders. You want to run on the Raiders. The Giants were able to run on the Raiders last week, so it could be a Darrell Williams game if Edwards-Helaire is not back out there. And you're going to play Hill and Kelsey, even with lower expectations. Now, Mahomes is a little different. Now, the one theory I think where you just say, damn the torpedoes, we're going with Mahomes no matter what, is that this is a matchup the Chiefs-Raiders, can regress back to AFL, fill the air up with football. This game could get real loose real quick, right? So potentially you're leaving a 4 or 5 touchdown game on the bench. But you see, there's some decisions if people are making like Carson Wentz against Jacksonville or Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. Even Mike White. I mean, if you're looking at it, playing it straight up, that's not even a decision lately based on how it's been going over the last couple of games for these teams. So I understand that. Although I also understand if you're saying, come on, I drafted Patrick Mahomes to play Patrick Mahomes. Now the team is learning to win ugly. They are learning to win ugly, Cease. But who have they won ugly against? The NFC East, basically. They're winning ugly against bad teams. They're winning ugly against Jordan Love. They're winning ugly against the Giants. That's not comforting when you have to win ugly against those kinds of teams. The Raiders, on the other hand, have had some prettier wins earlier this year. Are they more ready to play this week? They've absorbed the depth charge of the Henry Ruggs situation and moved on from it. And I think that they are going to be ready for this game, at least more ready than they were last week.
How do the Raiders respond?
Yeah.
I mean, I could flower it up and toss it to you a million different ways, and this player and Darren Waller, blah, 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 blah. I just want to know, like, how do they respond? Last week with the Henry Ruggs situation swirling around them, they did not respond well. So the answer is this is home in Vegas. This is an important game against, I don't care if the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs. They're still the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay. And they've clown hammered them 15 out of the last million times.
Right.
Like, okay. So, Bloom, my simple question is, how do the Raiders respond?
I think they respond well. I think Derek Carr responds well. I think Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake have a lot of success out of the backfield. I think Darren Waller has success in the middle of the field. I think that Hunter Renfrow has success in the middle of the field. They signed Deshaun Jackson. I'm not sure if Deshaun Jackson's going to play in this one, but obviously he adds that tactical element that helps create room for the rest of the offense to operate. I don't care what Jordan Love did last week. This is still not a good Chiefs defense. Most things should work against them. And I see, this is like, what's the sound? Like what's the version of it's like clip art, but sounds, right? Like sounds that you're used to, like the woman going, like screaming in the audience.
Or what is it? What's the Wilhelm scream? Is that right? The one that's like in Star Wars. It's
right.
In the commercials like that.
Exactly.
It's the Wilhelm screen, right?
I think that's, I forget the name of it.
Wrong?
So that's like,
it up.
That's what I'm picturing in this game. If in Las Vegas, the Raiders can get rolling, because this is going to be a national showcase game. Everybody's saying, what's wrong with the Chiefs? Can Chiefs be fixed? Is it going to turn around? This could be a big part of the answer. And if the Raiders get going on offense, I think could get out of hand because of that Chiefs defense.
The Wilhelm scream is a stock sound effect that has been used in a number of films and TV series, beginning in 1951 with the film The Distant Drums. The scream is usually used when someone is shot, falls from a great height, or is thrown from an explosion. The sound is named after Private Wilhelm, a character in The Charge at Feather River, a 1953 Western in which the character gets shot in the thigh with an arrow.
I'll give you another one, Cease, I learned when we were at Wakula Springs when we were on a vacation. The one Johnny Weissmuller, the original Tarzan, every Tarzan scream yell you hear is Johnny Weissmuller, because nobody else could do it like him.
Okay. Now you've promoted Hollywood to we got to reboot Tarzan again for the zillionth time. Just give me a King Conan movie, okay? If you want a guy running around with his shirt off, give me a King Conan, because it was teased at the end of Conan the Barbarian and we never saw it. Anyway.
Right. Well, we're getting the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes. And we're getting an Obi-Wan trailer tomorrow?
I don't know.
I heard that. I heard rumblings. Rumblings. What are we going to talk about? Oh, yeah, Monday night. Mm-hmm. Monday Night Football. It is the Rams, and it is the 49ers, and this one is interesting, question mark. If San Francisco make it interesting, right? But how do they do that against the Rams' high-powered offense? Van Jefferson, throw him in as what-the-heck flex, and of course, Jordan Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, and all these sorts of things. Darrell Henderson, yes, go. You've got your Rams. Go, Bloom. Go with your Rams, because I don't think the 49ers can make it interesting, and I think the Rams want to prove that they're the smartest team in the room.
Yeah.
In San Francisco.
This is a fascinating one, Cease, and I don't remember the exact number, like 73 and 67 and 4. But if you look at the history of the series, the 49ers have been dominating. Okay, there was a point from 1970 to 1980 that the Rams won 19 out of 22 matchups, and the Niners are still winning the overall series. They won 17 straight in the 90s over the Rams. 17 straight. That's hard to do against a divisional opponent. And Cease, let's do a little pop quiz. We brought up speed earlier in the week, right? Pop quiz. One of these teams has beaten the other one 4 straight times going into this matchup. Which one?
Don't know.
The Niners. The Niners have beaten the Rams 4 straight times. That was really surprising to me. We don't think of the Niners teams from last year as good teams, and they beat the Rams twice. Now, some of that may be Jared Goff. We're going to get Matthew Stafford. Enter Matthew Stafford to this great rivalry. And the other thing is San Francisco's been playing terrible at home. So San Francisco's defense isn't playing well. Colt McCoy looked like an all-pro against them last week. And they're not playing well at home. I want to say they're like 1-7 in their last 8, something like that. So you think Matthew Stafford's going to have success here. Maybe it's Van Jefferson, what the heck flex. I think you break ties in favor of Robert Woods. You don't really have any ties with Darrell Henderson. He's a running back 1 at this point. But based on how this matchup has been going, San Francisco has had Sean McVay's Rams number. Now, granted, in the year that the offense was good, the Rams put up massive points on the 49ers the one year that Goff was good in this offense. But then when we got the training wheels Goff, San Francisco kept finding ways to beat them. I think Stafford could really swing this back in the Rams' favor, especially the way the 49ers are feeling right now. And this is almost one of the worst moments, Cease. I know that because Jed York, I keep hearing this and I believe it, that because Jed York and Kyle Shanahan are tight, that it would take, I don't even know what, for Shanahan to get fired. But isn't this the worst moment for the 49ers to have a showcase national game on a Monday night? The way they're playing going into this one, the way everyone on this team is feeling.
You say the worst, Bloom. I will say it's the best.
Oh.
Zach with a little question
that
may be answered on Monday night. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Just saying. And I know what was Saline mentioning the Rams had Goff. Well, the 49ers have Jimmy G, and I know he's smarter than Goff because, well, my old flip phone here is smarter than Goff. But anyway, can we get Lance out there? I think that in a showcase game against Sean McVay, smartest guy in the room, just ask him. No inside information. We're going to see Lance package.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what does that mean? Does it mean you start him fantasy? No. Does it mean it could lead to more? Yeah, the time on Jimmy G's running out. They're not winning. Kyle's not going anywhere. Lance needs the reps. He needs experience. It's the middle of November. Sounds about right for a team that's not going anywhere, that the coach is totally secure in. He's totally secure. This whole talk of is he a good head coach? No. He's going in it. No, it's bunk. It's absolute bunk. You might as well be talking about Bill Belichick getting fired. That's not going to happen. Well, Kyle Shanahan's not going anywhere, and he's not going anywhere with Jimmy G. And once he knows that, and he's aware of many things, Bloom, then the move to Trey Lance will happen. So I think we'll all get our, and I'm glad Trey Sermon's not playing so I don't trip up on their names again. Like, listen, throw in Trey Sermon at quarterback. He'd throw it around, right, fellas? Yeah. Okay, Trey Lance. Yes, Lance is the answer. Maybe not yet, but maybe we get a taste. And then speaking of taste, there's a running back taste. So, okay, Eli Mitchell, but Jeff Wilson's activated. Like, I don't know. And George Kittle, we didn't get a taste, Bloom. We got a whole feast. Of George Kittle. Yes, main course with him. So, yes, please continue. Debo a little bit banged up. Ayuk doing more. Okay, 49ers. Again, it is the worst time leading into this game, but Bloom, it's the NFL. What would be the best time for Kyle Shanahan to be like,
right.
Yes.
Trey Lance.
Yes.
Make your own momentum. Because the Rams defense played pretty well against the Titans last week. It was just Matthew Stafford's mistakes that gave that game to the Titans. I would say that in this game, you also have probably Von Miller's debut in the Rams uniform. I wish I knew the colors. Bone. Is that the color of white in their uniform? Bone?
Yes.
I don't know. So anyway, that's a good color for Von Miller. I do think with Deebo Samuel a little banged up, it may be. I'm not saying play Ayuk over Samuel, but we may see another game where Ayuk outproduces him. Although we'll see what Jalen Ramsey does in this game if he travels with anybody. Either way, he's still going to take away something in the passing game here. Jeff Wilson, we're waiting to see if he has a role, but until he does, you're going to keep playing Elijah Mitchell. That's going to work here. And we saw him even when the running game didn't get on track because they trailed the entire game, basically. He still had 5 catches for 43 yards. Kittle has been good for Kittle for fantasy and good for Jimmy Garoppolo, but it didn't exactly make this offense come alive last week the way that we had hoped, and that was against Arizona. This is a much better Rams defense. So again, potentially a stunning reversal here because this offense there's been a handful of games this year, Cease, that the numbers have been there, but only because the 49ers have fallen so far behind and they've been playing against garbage time defenses. That's obviously what the plan is for the Rams here. And this is kind of a last stand game for the Niners. So I think you're right, Cease, that they could create their momentum, create their own wind behind their sails in this game with a good performance. This is, again, it's fascinating when we get these divisional matchups in the second half of the year. They can be very unpredictable, although how can it be more unpredictable than week 9?
Andrew says it best. Shanahanigans.
Well, and he's playing Shanahanigans on himself sometimes,
That's what Shanahan does.
Yeah.
That's what his dad did. That's what he does. Apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
Yeah.
Isn't that the old saying?
Yeah. Chip off.
I wonder if anyone measured that. You know what I mean? Like the study of that during time.
Right.
Like, guess what, everybody? That apple doesn't fall too far.
You got Newton getting hit on the head by the apple. You've got Eve eating the apple. And then we still want the scientists to come in there and say, how far does it actually fall from the tree?
Yes. What does the apple represent? All I know is I can't eat apples on my diet.
It might have been a pomegranate. They say it might have been a pomegranate that Eve ate.
Yeah. So apple, pomegranate, they're kind of close. Not really. You're kind of close with what the heck flex. Some transitions are better than others. That was good. It's okay.
Kind of close can be good enough.
I give it a B. You know what I mean? What the heck, Flex? You look over your lineup. You need some punch here in week 10. My God, give me something, please. For the love of God. Jamal Williams, Nyheim Hines, Ty Johnson, if you're playing a PPR league, because you could catch like 8 passes, right? Like, what the heck, Flex? I love Alex Collins, but with Chris Carson back now, he's a what the heck, Flex type of level of running back. Gio Bernard, who I went on and on for like 5 minutes about. Apologies. Eno Benjamin, I think, is a perfect what the heck flex with rational coaching. To the wide receiver position we go. And I mean, I love Visca, but I mean, what the heck flex? I'm not really happy about that. Van Jefferson, I did talk about what the heck flex levels. I would say our man Khalif Raymond against the Steelers. What the heck flex level there as well at the wide receiver position. I also have, Brian Edwards. I'm hoping for more Bloom, but for now, Brian Edwards is like what the heck flex levels. And, well, we'll see what happens with Green Bay. But Randall Cobb's always a what the heck flex for me as well. It is week 10, Sigmund. You look over your lineup. You need some punch. Who are some of your week 10 what the heck flexes?
What the heck? Flex. Look, Devontae Freeman, Le'Veon Bell tonight against Miami, you would think that they're going to be salting away that game. Devin Singletary potentially getting a start. Dearness Johnson potentially getting a start. Mark Ingram potentially, maybe not a start, but Alvin Kamara is not healthy. It's also Tennessee. Ramondre Stevenson, maybe. So you got Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris both coming out with concussion. There's been a little more optimism about Stevenson than Harris. If neither is active, then it's Brandon Bolden that becomes the what the heck flex. Jeremy McNichols, because you can't run on New Orleans and you're probably going to be passing to the running back more than running, although maybe Todd Downing says we're going to try anyway. And it is another J.D. McKissick week. You don't run on Tampa. Tampa's going to get too elite anyway. At wide receiver, looking at Jamison Crowder and Keelan Cole. I'm so happy that we have a reason to bring up Keelan Cole again.
He's good.
He's good at football.
Yes.
He makes plays. He's an excellent wide receiver. And you know Elijah Moore. I don't have to say Elijah Moore because he's graduated from What the Heck Flex. That didn't take long. Like, play the music. Da, 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 da. He's Elijah Moore, you've graduated from What the Heck Flex to being in our lineups. But maybe Jamison Crowder and Keelan Cole. Oh, man. This is tough, Cease, because I never thought I'd say this. But Julio Jones, What the Heck Flex. That's where we are at this point in 2021. But if you would see A.J. Brown covered by Marshawn Lattimore a lot and Julio Jones can actually stay on the field, yes. James Washington, Chase Claypool, the toe issue, it was week to week. At least it's not season ending. It's going to be potentially against Detroit, a James Washington week. Tyler Johnson with that Chris Godwin foot issue plus Gronk and Antonio Brown out. And how about Russell Gage? Dallas has been giving it up to wide receivers. And if Trevon Diggs is used on Kyle Pitts the way that Gilmore and Lattimore were the last 2 weeks, then that opens up things for Russell Gage. But hey, if it's Trevon Diggs on Russell Gage, that might be even better for Russell Gage. So you like that. You like the way that Matt Ryan's been playing going into that one. And we'll see, Cease. I hope that this is not quite as bumpy and rocky of a ride as last week. It was a great week. You know, I do the Rena defense column every week. It was a really, really, really good week for fantasy defenses. In other words, the offenses were not performing well last week. It led to a lot of those surprising outcomes. We'll see if those offenses can bounce back. And, you know, it's just every day we look forward to the NFL.
Well, you get sick of it, right? If it's like if it's a roller coaster has to have the smooth part or the anticipation part. It can't just be circles. Like you know, you're gonna throw up. So calm down.
Have the corn dogs after the roller coaster,
right? And plus, like mentioning the anticipation, we have the fantasy playoffs to anticipate. We have the regular playoffs to anticipate. Like, okay, NFL, you had your fun. Now it's time. You get back to just being normal. And Keanu kiss for everyone out there who is listening to the Audible, participating in the chat room. If you're in the chat room, make sure to comment as well, because the comments help the YouTube algorithm and get us in front of people that don't know us. We want more people to know us, Bloom. We want more people to love us and to love you and to join us here on this fantasy football journey. Speaking of the journey, you're the hero, we're the guide, footballguys.com. And you love the show, you want to support the show. We do this show year round. Off season, we take a little bit of time off, but not much. But as we do this show and you love the show at any time, I know it's week 10, but you can still go to footballguys.com. You can still subscribe to footballguys.com, our annual price. It's a good price and it's annually. So thank you guys. If you love the show, want to support the show, we've helped you. We've made you laugh. You're seeing every day, like go to footballguys.com every day. How about that? Can we start incorporating like Audible memes? When I was at the Senior Bowl, I checked out footballguys.com. Like if you want clarity, Bloom, go to footballguys.com. So see, we can roll our Audible sayings into the promo, into the copy. Into right? Life. You want the official term for it. Where's my copy? What are my copy points? Well, I'm hitting on the copy points now because what just makes sense. It's just science. Footballguys.com. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining us on this fantasy football journey. And before you're out of here, make sure to do all those YouTube things. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We're the Audible, everyone. Stay tuned and stay frosty.